All right. Hello, welcome everyone. It is Monday night. It's 7, at least in Phoenix. So what are we getting here together for? Insights with Alicia. It's my favorite time of the week, right? So every week we gather to learn and connect. And I often say things and people always want to know more. They like the insight from the scientific psychic. So there are so many things that I've experienced in my life that has transformed me. And I love being able to share these insights to everyone, not just my clients. On Monday nights, right, we talk about relationships, our behavior, so many life skills that will literally change your life. And as always, the tools and ideas to support those changes that we want to make. And let's not forget about the animals. We do talk about them too. For those of you that don't know, I'm Alicia-Sacrificing, owner of Who Knew Healing. I am an intuitive life coach, animal consultant and communicator, psychic medium, intuitive mentor, and I provide healing and growth opportunities for people and animals. And as always, for those of you listening as a podcast, welcome. And if you'd like the video version, please visit my YouTube channel under Alicia-Sacrificing, or even better, join us live on Monday nights. I would love to have you. And as always, those of you watching on Facebook, if you would like to comment, please join by the Zoom link. I just can't see both right now. Okay, that is all the logistical stuff. Welcome, everyone. Gotta have something good to drink. Thank you for joining in. For those of you that have been listening over the last week or so, the drawing for the free session with me has now ended. It ended yesterday. And thank you to everyone who participated. The winners have been notified by email today, so check your email. And thank you to my friend Carrie for picking the winners. I appreciate her help. Okay, so tonight, what are we going to talk about tonight? And this is an interesting topic. I was still adding stuff even just a few minutes ago. I was like, oh, this and that and that. Tonight we're going to talk about a subject that may be triggering. Please know that is never my intent. And I'm going to shed some light on something that isn't spoken about or looked at the way that I see it, or the unwanted effect that it has on people. This is how I see that particular topic. So tonight we're going to talk about sacrificing. And I know that this may be challenging, and that's okay. I have a lot of personal experience with this. So how this came about is I read something the other day and I got all fired up, right? As I usually do when people don't realize what they're saying publicly as sort of an authority figure. I was quite surprised that this particular coach said this, and I know what their intent was. And you guys know me, I'm so conscious about our communication that our words and our mindset have so much power over what we create. So what I read said, sacrifices are only worth making for those who appreciate them. Now, here's my point of view on this. It's a little different. We do things a little differently here at Insights with Alicia. Sacrifice and love cannot live in the same place. If you are sacrificing anything, it is never love. If you are sacrificing because you love someone, that's not love. It is people pleasing. It is codependency. It's trauma bonding. It's trading, etc. Whatever of the many labels that fits that kind of behavior. And here's the thing, sacrificing puts you in the victim spot because you are believing you have to do something and you have no other choices. I have to do this because I love them. No, that is not love. Even the idea of compromise doesn't have the highest vibration. And yes, it is still a step above sacrificing. Tonight, I'm inviting you to go to the next higher vibration of either of these concepts. We want to be conscious in every choice that we make. If we cannot freely give it, even if it is something we really don't want to do, it is not unconditional love. If something is not freely given, then it creates resentment, anger, and separation. If we believe we need to do something that isn't a match for us because they are a friend, partner, family, etc., then it's not freely given. It is a trade. Now, here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with trading as long as both parties know that you're trading. There has been a conscious discussion about what each person is giving. Otherwise, you're not on the same page. And I know that trading and freely giving might be new words for you, And trust me, there is a lot to teach about them. They actually take up a whole section of a class that I teach. So don't stress if you don't fully understand how these show up in our world. I'm going to do my best to give examples. You guys know that, usually on Monday nights, even if I have this idea, like how I like to do this stuff is, right, we talk about the concept and we pull it apart and we dismantle and look at what's underneath. And then I try to the best of my ability to provide tools to then shift it. Because it's one of those things to say something and then what? Like I could get on here and go, oh, sacrificing is never love. And what am I supposed to do with that? I hear that stuff in the world all of the time, or even, when I had a counselor, like she would say things and I'd be like, yeah, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, how do I implement that? Where is the structure and the tools to be able to implement these ideas, right? You always hear that, be positive. Well, how? Like, give me something, I will do it. Give me something, how to do it. Give me some instructions. So that is my goal of tonight. I hope that it's got some flow, because this is a concept that has been floating around and I've been trying to write it for a couple of days. And I really, really like for you guys to be able to walk through this and see it and then be able to shift it. So as I was saying, sacrificing makes you the victim. And to start, I am going to use parents as one of, an example of this. Let me be very clear. I am not picking on parents. Parenting is the hardest fucking job there is. And if we can make these shifts, then the next generation isn't going to need to see people like me or traditional therapists in 30 years. Nothing would make me happier than to be put out of business because I am no longer needed. So, and this particular parental sacrificing is rampant and a staple in our society. And it actually creates something we don't want as a side effect. Remember when I spoke about, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, I spoke about authority figures in our lives, right? And one of the examples I said is that we are taught as children to listen to adults and what they say. And as a side effect of this is that children are not speaking up when they're abused or molested because they're supposed to listen to adults automatically. So they're like, oh, this was an adult. I did what they said. So they don't speak up. We are by default teaching them not to listen to themselves. We are not fully teaching the lesson. We assume that the child knows we are talking about the safe adults and that we're not talking about the adults that want to harm them. And here's the thing, kids don't know that. They just don't. They don't, at 3, 4, when we're trying to teach them, stranger danger and who's a safe person and who's not, and listen to adults, they don't know that we're talking about specific adults. We know we're talking about it, but it doesn't get translated. So if you're interested in that, there's a blog, a video, podcast. It's called Authority Figures. And sacrificing has the same process to it. So when a parent says, I would sacrifice anything for my kid, the intent here is pure. The intent is that my child is the most important thing to me, and I would do anything for them. The effect is different. Now, I want you to pause here, take a big deep breath, because I know as a parent, you might just be like, what the hell? So what is actually happening is we are making our child responsible for us, our happiness, and our life. So some examples we often hear, right, is something like, well, I can't buy a new car because I have kids. What does your child hear? My parents can't have what they want simply because I exist. That is what they hear. I can't have a social life because I have kids. I can't go to college because I have kids. I don't have any money because I have kids. Your child hears, my parents can't have what they want, what makes them happy, simply because I exist. Now, I get if you want to fight me on this, like I said, nowhere in here am I saying anyone is a bad parent or judging anyone. And as I said, I'm just starting the discussion with parenting because everyone has heard this. This sacrificing applies everywhere in our lives, and we will get there. Just stick with me. Don't come with the torches and pitchforks yet. So, do you know how I know that that's what a child hears? Because I've been that kid. My parents were those kids. It just gets passed down. Not because anyone is doing anything wrong. It's because we're not conscious to it. We see sacrificing ourselves in any form, work, relationship, etc., as a badge of honor. In our society, and this is slowly changing in the workplace, if you are going above and beyond, if you are working extra hours, if you are giving more than you can, you are considered a good person, a good employee, a good friend, a good parent. Do you see how backwards this is? We are taught that giving to anything at the extent and cost of ourselves is not only a good thing, but what makes us worthwhile, what makes us lovable and a good person. We are taught sacrifice and pain equals love. So when we circle back to parenting and we hear things like, I can't go on vacation because I have kids, or I can't fill in the blank, right? XYZ because I have kids. Like I said, this puts you in the victimhood slot. You're not a victim. No one is a victim to having children. We make decisions to have a child, and then everything in your life from that point on is a result of that choice. It's all on us. It's not our kids' fault for existing that someone can't buy a new car. That responsibility is all on us, the adults, the parents. People choose to have children. It costs a lot of money to raise a family. So you might have less disposable income, especially these days. And remember, no judgment here, I promise. We're just looking at the energy underneath this so that we can raise children who people please less, children who don't give themselves to people who use and abuse them, children who are less codependent, children who are less likely to end up with someone who's narcissistic. There are so many people walking around with self-esteem and self-worth issues because they simply think they're wrong for existing. And I know it's true because those people are my clients. It is one of the main things that I help people with. Now, like I said, most parents are not doing this on purpose. It's just the effect of the mindset. Our mindset, which creates our language, which our children hear, and then children use to form an opinion about themselves as a person. And kids emulate our behavior. So we're teaching them sacrificing is love. Even though what our words are saying is, I would sacrifice anything for my child. And like I said, the intent is pure, but where's the rest of the lesson? All that kid hears is, oh, they love me, so they must sacrifice. Like kind of like you have to listen to adults. Oh, let's talk about the difference in adults, safe adults, not safe adults. It's just the rest of the lesson isn't getting taught. And side note here, I understand there are people who have children and that was not their choice. Some people were in situations where certain things were out of their control, or they live in a country or a culture where they don't have rights over their own bodies. So you may be hearing this and thinking, I am a victim. Absolutely. And I invite you to look at what's possible for you now. It is my wish for anyone who finds themselves in that situation that they be able to find the support and resources to help them change it. Like I said, I know this may be triggering for some people. And the upside, lack of a better word right now, for triggers is they always let us know where we're believing something that isn't a match for us, something that has the opportunity to come up for healing. So let's look at how these sentences are different. I can't buy a new car because I have kids and I have no money. Versus, I can't buy a new car because I chose to have children and I choose to spend my money on their needs. Do you feel the difference in that? Do you feel the difference in the energy? One has heaviness at the end because I have kids, and the other is lighter. Choice is always lighter. I understand this may not seem like a big deal to you, and I promise you it has a massive effect. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It shows up in our children's behavior, who then become adults with dysfunctional coping mechanisms and behaviors. It's covert. It's happening behind the scenes, which is why it can be hard to catch and change. So here's a personal example. This one popped up a little earlier. I have another one later, and it's interesting. You'll see a pattern here for me. I was like, oh, I've done that multiple times in my life. So my DNA dad, whenever he would randomly show up to see us, me and my brother, it was usually to go up north, right? We're in Michigan. That's what we do in the summertime. We go up north. And so he'd pick us up for the weekend and buy groceries. And he would always complain about how much it cost to feed us. And of course, my brother was a teenager, so teenage boys, right? They eat a lot. And we didn't do this all the time. It wasn't like he was picking us up every weekend, and that wouldn't have mattered either way. But this was just something that made him so unhappy, and he complained about all weekend, every time we saw him. So what did I do as a kid on those weekends? I wouldn't eat, or I would eat less, because I thought, okay, he's really upset that he has to feed us. So how can I make him happy? How can I, feel loved by him and show him love? Oh, I can sacrifice eating, because then he won't have to spend as much money. It's crazy that no one ever noticed, but that's a topic for a different Monday night, I'm sure. But see, as kids, we just automatically do that because our parents are unhappy. Kids always think it's them. Parents are saying things without realizing what their children are actually hearing. And then their children make decisions, which then those patterns of behavior get carried on through their whole life, without even knowing that that's what's happening. So I understand this may be a new way of looking at this for some of you. It may bring up questions. And yes, this is a subject that deserves more time than we have tonight. And I wanted to shed some light on it so that the discussions and the shifts could start to happen. Okay, so where are we sacrificing in other places? Our relationships, of course. And as I said, when we are doing something we don't want to do, it is because, when we are doing something we don't want to do because we believe we're supposed to, it's never love. So example, I'm going to this event with my husband, even though I don't want to, because that's what a wife does. There isn't any consciousness in there. It's just an autopilot response to filling the role of wife. And then when I'm resentful and unhappy later, I won't even know why. And I'll take my anger out on my husband, even though the person I'm really angry at is myself, because I didn't speak up for myself. I didn't choose what was a match for me. Mostly though, people don't catch this part, and the argument just ends up happening with things being said like, why do we do everything you want to do? How come I have to do everything? Why doesn't what I want matter? You never listen to me, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure you guys can recognize some of that. So here's another example of believing sacrifices love. Like this was me in my marriage. And like I said, I was like, oh, here's a pattern with the food thing. Because I only had this example in up until, I don't know, an hour ago. And then I wrote the one about, I added the one about my dad. So when I was married, our money was tight, right? And so we pay our bills and we didn't have a lot of extra money left over. And my ex always wanted spending money for the week to blow on whatever. And most of the time he couldn't even remember what he spent it on, junk food, whatever. We didn't have the money to do that. So I would go without eating so that my ex-husband could have spending money that he could use on whatever, because I thought that was love. I thought, okay, he was really upset that there's not enough money. How can I make that happen? Now, was that him doing that? No, those were all my choices. Did he know that that was going on? Yes. So, take that for what it is. But I really believed that was love. Like no matter what, the other person is more important, even when it comes to just keeping us alive. So his needs always came before mine because I believed that was love. I believed sacrifice is love. Wrong. And I know some of you may be thinking, how could she do that? I would never be with someone who'd want me to go without eating so they could have spending money. I hear you. And I invite you to look at your own life and the places where you're doing something you don't want to be doing and sacrificing because you believe that that's what love is. We all have something we've done or currently doing. Have you ever looked at your friend and thought, oh, I would never put up with that? Believe me, they have looked at you and thought the same thing. We all have different tolerances based on our traumas and our beliefs. And we all think, oh, I wouldn't. And we got the same thing going on in our own life. It's just a different manifest differently, right? Different topic, different subject, different behavior. I gave up career opportunities and supported his because I thought that was love. I sacrificed myself to the point that I no longer existed because that is what I thought love was. And that is what society teaches us love is. Our partner is what comes first, 100% all the time. And I know I'm not the only one because the people I get to help with this now are my clients. I have walked this healing journey and now I get to be the guide for others. Do you know how many people men and women, come out of relationships not having any sense of who they are, not even knowing how they like to spend their money or their time or what their favorite food is, because everything was about the other person. It saddens me to say that this is normal. This is what our society deems as lovable and worthwhile. And if you are in this situation and you're hearing my voice or reading this as the blog, I promise you it can be different. This is why I get so passionate about this stuff. It's calmed down since I was able to write it and talk to you guys. But as I was doing it this week, I was pretty spicy. And I was like, no, we gotta try and say this is consciously and non-judgmental and is healed and because everyone gets to have their own journey. We are not a victim to our lives. We are not a victim to our choices. Sacrifice is a choice we are making consciously or unconsciously, and we do it under the illusion of love. Okay, so if we're in this situation, what do we do about it? If we are living from a place of victimhood and sacrificing and people-pleasing and codependency, welcome to the club, how do we shift it? We start by taking an inventory of ourselves. And I'm going to have some questions here. There's a bunch, and I have more questions at the end. So don't stress, right? Because there'll be a recording. If you want to read them, it'll be in the blog on Wednesday. So don't stress about trying to get them all written down right now. So we start by taking an inventory of ourselves. We start by asking ourselves, what are we doing in our life that we don't want to be doing? Who are we being that we don't want to be being? Change always starts with ourselves. As much as I wish we could change other people, because yes, that would just be so much easier. Doesn't work that way. So where are we trading versus freely giving? Where have we modified ourselves to please another, to fit in, to be safe? Where have we hidden away our deepest desires? Where have we cut off part of ourselves to be loved? Where have we sacrificed our essence of who we are, our soul, just to be loved? These questions will give you a ton of information about where you are in your life and how we can start to shift that. Now, in relationships, right? Romantic, friend, family, there's a continuous flow of creating for ourselves, creating for the other person, and creating for us together, the relationship. So how do we navigate that? First, by being responsible for our own happiness. If you don't know what that means, there's a talk and a blog. It's called the happiness list. That just happens to be a list of 40 things that we can do to keep ourselves full, right? We talk about keeping our bucket full so that we can then have capacity for the world and love for the people in our lives. So when I say being responsible for our own happiness, it's being responsible for the experience we're having every day and keeping ourselves full so that we can freely, consciously give to other people. That is what unconditional love is. Unconditional love is caring about another person's happiness without trying to get something for ourselves. Relationships are the balance of giving and getting our needs met. So many people get into relationships to get love because they're so empty and they don't know how to emotionally take care of themselves. It doesn't often dawn on them that they will receive love also by giving it. Now, does this mean to be a doormat or sacrifice? No, different things. Absolutely not. Remember balance, freely choosing. There will be times when your partner is going to request something that you don't want to do, like the dreaded office Christmas party. And we get to choose. The freedom and happiness is in the choice. And there will be times when you want them to do things also that they may not want to do, and they get to choose. There are times that I'll go do something even by myself and I don't want to do it. Like I've committed to it and I could change my mind, but for whatever reason, I'm choosing not to. I'm like, I'm going to go to this. It feels heavy. I'm resistant. I don't want to do it, but I'm going anyway. But the fact that I'm consciously aware that I'm trading changes the experience. I don't get as drained. I laugh at myself. Sometimes I even end up having a good time. And I fully recognize that the responsibility of my experience lies with me. It is a very different experience than when I go to something because I'm unconsciously people-pleasing or being codependent. With that, I get drained. I get upset. I don't feel good. I get mad at other people. I get stuck in victimhood, and on it goes. So with our partner, we get to communicate to them what we can freely do and not do. These are when those conscious conversations that I'm always talking about looks like. We can say, I don't want to go to this, and I know it's important to you. I have gotten myself to a full enough place that I can freely and consciously choose to go with you to this, even though it's not at the top of the list. I'm not doing it because I'm supposed to. I'm not doing it so that you'll be happy with me. I'm doing it because I have the capacity to give. Very, very different. Very different experience than when you do it because you don't want to, and then you try to make your partner pay for it later. I'm sure I'm the only one that ever did that. And there's going to be things that are not a match at all. You get to speak up about that and say, that's not a match for me. And hopefully we have chosen a partner who can respect you and be an allowance of your choices and what works for you. And we get to do the same for them. This is a continuous process. The goal is not perfection here. Sometimes we will still fall into sacrificing and people pleasing, and we get to catch ourselves. Resentment is a very, very powerful wake-up call. This is the navigation that occurs in a relationship because we're always growing. And things that are or aren't a match for either of us will change, and we get to have conversations with our partner about that. So here's some more questions that if we catch ourselves sacrificing, what do? We get to be light with ourselves, right? Let's not judge ourselves and beat ourselves up. That's never fun, and it doesn't get us anywhere. Not that I ever do that. Okay, so we get to be light with ourselves, and we get to ask ourselves questions. What are we sacrificing? Why are we sacrificing? What are we believing that is creating my need to sacrifice? What am I believing I will gain or lose by sacrificing? Someone's love, someone's approval. We can be afraid of losing or gaining that. Where am I being a version of me that believes I need to sacrifice? Where I believe I need to sacrifice to be happy or to be loved? What are we sacrificing for? And what are we making sacrifice mean in this moment? So these questions, once again, will give you tons and tons of information about where you are at that moment in the situation. And it's going to provide you with the information to shift it, right? When we ask the question, the answers show up and they let us know how to move forward. So as a recap of tonight's super fun, potentially life-changing topic, sacrificing puts us in victim energy. It puts us in a place of believing we don't have the ability to choose something different. It puts us in a place of making others responsible for us, even our children. Sacrifice and love cannot exist in the same place. Sacrificing because you love someone is never love. And I want you to take a look at who exists in your life that wants you to sacrifice things. I know people who get happy and feel loved when someone they care about sacrifices something for them. They truly believe that's love. They truly believe doing something that isn't a match or giving up something means you love them. They truly believe you being unhappy means you love them. So I invite you to look at the people in your life who support you in choosing what is a match for you and those who want you to sacrifice things. Okay, I know that was a lot. I understand it may have brought us some things. If you'd like support, right? This is what I get to help people with. It's my passion. Please book a session. I personally know firsthand the detrimental effect sacrificing can have on our lives. Okay. I hope this was helpful. That is all we have for this evening. Join me again next Monday. I don't know what we'll talk about then. We'll see what the universe says. And as always, if there are people you want to share this with, this video will be uploaded to YouTube tonight under Alicia Sweezer. Please subscribe, like, comment, all the things, share. All of these links are in any of the event listing in the meetup, the Facebook page. And if you haven't, sign up for my email list, right? Because you get all this kind of information also. And or listen to this podcast. Thank you to everyone who has donated to my Cosmic Tip Jar. It allows me to create more free things like this that I get to give to people. And if anyone feels led to do so, those links are in the event info. There's multiple options. There's PayPal and Zelle, all that good stuff. Thank you so much. And as always, if anything I talked about tonight makes you want to learn more, reach out, book a session, schedule your free discovery call, and let's see what we can create together. So that is all for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you guys next Monday. I hope you have a fabulous week wherever you are in the world. And I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.